I ran away to Syria to live in the Islamic State.
She was found guilty in Britain of joining the Islamic group.
To seek a pure Muslim life under Sharia law. She adopted the IS flag on her Facebook profile.
I escaped, came back to England.
Tareena Shakil.
Tareena Shakil.
I chose to risk my life to escape, to come back. And I did that because I made a mistake.
There'll be people that will listen to your story and they'll think, how do you just switch that off?
August 2014. That's where Tareena's story starts, when she reactivated her Facebook after her marriage ended, leaving her at 24, alone and with a young child. This is where she got talking to people who she says convinced her that her life would be much better in Syria, a country which saw some of its land under the control of ISIS.
In my personal life, I was going through a lot of things. I was not happy. There was a relationship breakdown, and at the same time talking to people that were saying, you know, you need to come and live here. I had the same issues as you. You'll go to hell if you stay there. Then I really started to think about it.
Tareena had originally planned to go to Turkey for a holiday with her child, and while she was there, she would make her mind up about whether she should cross the border into Syria, where the Islamic State were.
I would say I was 80% sure that I was going to go on to travel to Syria, but it wasn't 100%. I said, let me see how far I get. Let me see. Anything can happen. It might not happen. So many people get stopped. So many people. It just might not be for me.
Through a network of people who had given her details on who to meet where, Tareena had managed to make it to the border.
The guys would come and take people in a van, drive to like desert land, barren land, farmland. Nobody lives there, it's just literally sand, and basically tell you where to run from this part to that point. Then there would be another man waiting, and then you'd have to run further where there would be another man who would point you in which direction. And at the other side in Syria there was another truck waiting, and then eventually I ended up in Raqqa. And I'll never forget it, when I seen the black flag of ISIS for the first time in real life, that was a big moment of realisation for me, because that was the moment that I realised that this is actually real. I'm actually here.
The house where Tareena arrived at in Raqqa was a place where unmarried women were expected to stay until they found a husband. From these selfies, it might look like she'd finally found her place, but Tareena says she had to do what was expected to fit in.
That was a part of the life there. They were things that you were expected to do. Like, if they brought out a gun, you know, you're living with a bunch of fanatics. All of the women wanted to take a picture with it. You know, oh my God, it's a gun. Some women even asked for a gun when they got married, for their meher, for their dowry. So I often at times felt myself going along with the norm of the house.
But after 8 weeks in the Islamic State, Tareena said she had had enough, as she began to realise her once ISIS dream had turned into a nightmare.
I remember speaking to my mum, and I remember saying to her, I'm going to try to run away tomorrow. I'm going to try to escape. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get internet to speak to you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep you updated on the journey, or I don't know what's going to happen, because I literally don't have a plan. But if you don't hear from me, give it 1 week, then just know that I didn't make it.
Tareena managed to get to a bus station where her next plan was to get close to the Turkish border. But the bus could only get so far, so Tareena found a taxi driver.
I said to him, look, I'll give you 50 or 70 American dollars. He drove to his house and he picked up his wife. We were driving for I can't remember now, maybe like an hour, 2 hours. The driver's wife said to him, there's Turkey. So I looked at her and I said, what did you say? And she said, yeah, there's Turkey. Where them trees are, that's Turkey. And I was like, okay, stop the car. I grabbed my bag, grabbed my child, and I got out of the taxi and I just threw the money onto the seat. And as soon as I got out of the taxi, he literally sped off so fast. Maybe 200 yards to the left of me there were 3 ISIS fighters. all talking. But the way they were positioned, they all had their back to me, and they were just, I don't know, they were talking really loudly, they were in some kind of discussion. And I remember thinking, I have just got to run now, because if any of them turn around, like, it's finished. And all of them had an AK-47 or some kind of rifle on their back. So I just ran over, it was like grass, like a field. And I just carried on running and running and running. And I remember thinking, with every step that I take, am I out of range of his bullet? At that moment, kind of like a Jeep or a Hummer, whatever, was approaching, and it had about 5 or 6 Turkish soldiers on there. So when they seen me, they stopped. And I think at first they thought I was Syrian, because they were like, you know, go back, don't come here. They were like shooing me away. And I was like, no, I'm British. I had my passport on me. When he seen that, he just put his arms out and he helped me over. There's no words to describe what I felt at that moment. And I remember I said to one of the soldiers, I said, if they shoot from there, will it get me? And he said, no, you're safe now. Nobody's going to shoot you now. You're safe.
She might have been out of reach of ISIS, but Tareena was far from out of trouble as she was flown back to the UK.
When the plane had landed, there was an announcement made by the captain that everyone needs to remain seated. There was maybe like 4 or 5 officers that were walking down the aisle looking from left to right, and they were just looking at the people. And as they approached me, I stood up and I was like, I think it's me that you're looking for. The police officer spoke and she was like, right, Tareena, I'm arresting you for, and there was like 5 things, like really serious charges. I was just really shocked because I was like under arrest. Obviously I was shocked because I've never been arrested before.
That place is not a good place, it was horrible.
Tareena was sentenced to 6 years in prison for IS membership and for encouraging acts of terror. She served 3 years in jail before being released on licence. As she sat down with me, she insists that she has been de-radicalised and is now a changed woman.
There'll be people that will listen to your story and they'll think, how does someone go from wanting to join ISIS to wanting to have nothing to do with them and to turn their life around? How do you just switch that off?
The person that I am today is the person I've been my whole life. Before I was married, I was this young, westernised girl that would go out with her friends. I chose to really risk my life to escape, to come back. And I did without help from anybody. And I did that because I made a mistake and I wanted to correct it.
People might think a mistake is getting someone's name wrong, not joining a terrorist
But we all
group.
make mistakes though. Some people gamble away their life savings. Some people, we all make mistakes. Some people make bigger mistakes than others.
But how can you compare a mistake like that to joining a terrorist group?
A mistake is a mistake. I did what I did. It is a mistake. But I've since then been continuously trying to make it right.
Not only has Tareena been trying to make it right for herself, but also for her family.
The whole experience was absolutely horrendous for them. Sorry. And what I have put them through was...
Tareena believes that she was groomed online before going to join ISIS in her mid-20s in 2014. Shamima Begum, another British national, was just 15 when she fled to Syria a year later. She's still there after a UK court recently decided to ban her from ever coming back home. Yet Tareena was the first woman to be prosecuted in the UK after returning from the Islamic State. So I asked her, should Shamima be given the same treatment?
If it is genuinely the case that she wanted to like turn her back on that, she really just wants to come home, turn her back on it, change her life, change her ways, not even just her, anybody, I would like to think that the chance is there for people to be able to do so. Yes, it is a very big mistake that people like myself and her and other women chose to do, but it's a mistake nevertheless, and I genuinely feel if people want a second chance, then they should be able to have it. You know, I've been given a second chance and I've thrived from it. I've done really well. I've been able to get my life back. turn my back on everything. I wanted to engage with de-radicalisation. I wanted to do all of that because I knew I had made this very big mistake. Now, if I sit here and think that I might not have had that chance, it breaks my heart.
Tareena now wants to support others who have been in the same situation as her. She has recently started an organisation called Help for Hope.
The vision that I have for it, it's because I've been through the whole process, the grooming online, the rehabilitation and the reintegration. I hope that we can work on these three main aspects. Grooming online, raising awareness around it, educating around it, because it still happens, unfortunately. I have great life experience in them and hopefully, you know, I can give something back in them three areas.
If you could go back, what would you say to your younger self?
Oh, don't go, don't do it. Absolutely.
Do you regret it?
I really